Welcome back, everybody. As the summer winds down to an end, we have one more book that you just might want to add to that summer reading list. Joining us now to discuss his book and journey in the tech world is local author Mike Trigg. Mike, thank you so much for joining us here on Live in the Bay.
Thanks so much for having me, Olivia. I'm really honored to be here.
Yeah, we have to talk about your new book, BIT FLIP. Now, you first start out in the tech world, so I have to ask you, why make the switch? What inspired you to become an author?
Well, the truth is I kind of always wanted to be an author after undergraduate, but I never quite got around to it. I got distracted by a 20-plus year career in the tech industry doing startups, and I was a founder, an executive, employee. But I always wanted to write a novel, and COVID kind of gave me a weird opportunity to do that, really focus on the writing and getting the book published. And I based the book in large part on my experiences in the Valley.
And let's talk about that specifically, your experience. So like you said, you were a CEO, you were an employee, you really did it all in the tech world. So you have that firsthand experience. But what inspired you, or why did your journey inspire you to write about the tech world in your new book?
Well, I think I have my wife to thank a little bit for that. I would come home and I would share these funny stories of just odd or eye-rolling things that I saw in my day, and she would always say, you should write a book, you should write a book. And so the ideas started forming. I started, keeping little anecdotes, but I didn't really have a story yet, and I eventually it all kind of congealed and came up with a storyline, and it's obviously the book's fiction, so all the characters and scenes didn't really happen, but a lot of the inspirations were drawn from my career in tech.
And you said that actually the pandemic was what first allowed you to kind of dive in to become an author and chase that dream that you said you had for so long. What was the process like for you, writing an entire book?
Writing an entire book is daunting, for sure. No, and I was trying to do it nights and weekends while I was doing a tech startup initially. And I discovered that was a really hard way to go. I wasn't making as much progress as I hoped. And during COVID, unfortunately, the startup that I was working on, we ended up winding down. But the silver lining to that was I said, hey, if I'm not going to write this now, I'm never going to do it. And so I jumped in with both feet. Wrote the novel, and it finally comes out tomorrow. Yeah,
that's exciting. So we have you right here a day before the release. Now, for our viewers who might want to pick up a copy, can you tell us a little bit about the book? What can they expect?
Yeah, I describe it as a corporate thriller. That may sound like a contradiction in terms to some people, but I think for any professional, they can really relate to what's going on. The protagonist, Sam Hughes, discovers basically fraud and blackmail going on within the organization, so he is in a position where he needs to kind of decide if he's going to blow the whistle on that or if he's going to become complicit in sort of the cover-up of it. So at its core, it's kind of a moral and ethical journey that he goes on, and the entire book is kind of really a commentary on life in the Bay Area, life in tech industries, a bit of a critique, if you will, a little satire in there as well. So it's kind of hard to classify, but I wanted to write something that I thought was really relatable to anybody working in the tech industry.
And that is super relatable to so many people out here in the Bay Area, since the tech industry is huge out here in the Bay.
Yeah, well, and the title itself refers to sort of a change of heart. A bit flip is when a bit, a 0 or 1, flips from one to the other. And so that change of heart is kind of in the title, and I think that's something that a lot of Bay Area tech workers are struggling with. I know I was struggling with, where, over the last several years, some of the negative consequences of the tech industry have become maybe more apparent, and that is a real challenge. The mantra in Silicon Valley was always that we're going to make the world a better place and make a lot of money while doing it. And when you see some of the negative consequences, I think for a lot of people it's really caused them to kind of struggle with, well, what am I doing? Is this really what's important to me? Am I making the world a better place? And that's really what the book's about.
And it sounds like these are real, like you said, real life relations. People can really relate to this because, especially here in the Bay Area through the tech world. But does the character or any part of the story reflect any part of your life or your time in the tech world specifically? I
mean, it definitely does. There's no specific incident or character that's directly based on someone in the real world, including myself. The way I describe the characters is that a lot of them are sort of composites, where I sort of witnessed behaviors or comments or anecdotes from real people, and then I kind of rolled them up into fictional characters that kind of represent, different people that I think a lot of people in Silicon Valley can sort of relate to. They, a lot of people who've read the book so far have said, oh yeah, I know somebody just like that. Is this based on so-and-so? And you know, it's all fiction, but I think it makes it really identifiable and relatable to people, especially here in the Bay Area, but really anybody in the professional world.
So if you were to break it down to somebody, especially maybe someone who's not familiar with the tech world, what is it that you would hope that they take away from this read of yours?
Yeah, I think the moral of the story, if you will, is that everybody in the tech industry and everybody really in the professional world has a responsibility to act in ethical ways, right? Yeah. Even when nobody's looking. And so that's really the journey that Sam Hughes, the protagonist, goes on. Is he in opening the book, he really is sort of rejecting a lot of what the tech industry in Silicon Valley is all about. But he has this opportunity to kind of redeem himself within the company, and that's when his moral complications really get started. And I think, you know, anybody who lives here has seen this. You know, you are in companies and working for tech organizations, and sometimes, you know, stuff may feel like, I don't know that is making the world a better place. And that's when I think everybody's kind of antenna should go up, and they should think, you know, is this the right thing to do?
I love that you're adding that part to make people really think about it. Think about making the world a better place. Now, you mentioned Sam, the main character.
Yeah.
Does he have any similar characteristics to you when it comes to your personality?
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, he is a Midwesterner, as am I. I base Sam as being from Ohio. I'm from Wisconsin. But, you know, a lot of the opinions of Sam, especially early in the book, are ones that I shared. That change of heart in the title, BIT FLIP, is one that he has, and it's one that I had. Obviously, I pivoted my career out of tech and into becoming a writer full-time. So there are a lot of similar traits. He has 3 kids. I only have 2. You know, he's married. I'm married. Yeah. I live in Menlo Park. He lives in Palo Alto. So there's some parallels, certainly. But as the book really progressed, I wanted it to become, you know, it got less and less autobiographical. It became more and more a work of fiction. And I think that's really what made it fun.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Mike, for joining us. We appreciate your time. Of course.